Last night I was chilling with my boo and my seeds, and we were watching The Breakfast Club, yo. In 1985, John Hughes was killing it. See, The Breakfast Club's all about the tyranny of the fixed social order of adolescence. Oh, it's also a case study in bad parenting. Smash that like button, bitches. That's right. Hit the alert icon. You don't want to miss this. For the bonus points for the trifecta, hit share. But see, the thing is, there's a lot that we can learn about contemporary art culture from John Hughes films, from the oeuvre of John Hughes, all his movies. See, on one hand, you got Andrew Clark. He's the athlete, the jock, the sporto. Now, there's a handful of other characters, but you got Allison Reynolds, who's referred to as the basket case, the loner, the weirdo. And importantly here, Allison Reynolds draws. She's the artist. The artist. Now you see, we have a tension that's set up. We have a dichotomy between the athlete and the artist. Now in the adolescent social pyramid, jocks and cheerleaders are at the top. They're the popular kids, right? Everybody else fills in the lower levels. Down towards the bottom, we find the losers, geeks, dweebs, burnouts, and of course, like Allison, we find the artist. In our American coming-of-age dramas, there is a tremendous amount of animus, of anxiety, and dare I say, hatred. Haters gonna hate, directed from the lower levels of the pyramid towards the top, towards the jocks, sportos, prom queens, and cheerleaders. That's the formula. And it's the formula for a reason, yo. It's the archetype, dare I say, the prototype. Now, the tyranny of this pyramid is all-encompassing in adolescence, and I defy you to tell me who among us did not suffer under this system. In The Breakfast Club in particular, it becomes abundantly clear that the princess, the brain, the geek, the athlete, the criminal, and the basket case, all of these characters suffer within this system.
Well, you know how hairy he is, right? Well, when they pulled the tape off, most of his hair came off and some skin, too.
Oh my God.
So the bizarre thing is that I did it for my old man. I tortured this poor kid because I wanted him to think that I was cool. He's always going off about, when he was in school, all the wild things he used to do. And I got the feeling that he was disappointed that I never cut loose on anyone, right? So I'm sitting in the locker room, and I'm taping up my knee, and Larry's undressing a couple lockers down from me. And he's kind of skinny, weak. And I started thinking about my father and his attitudes about weakness. And the next thing I knew, I jumped on top of him and started wailing on him. And my friends, they just laughed and cheered me on. And afterwards, when I was sitting in Vernon's office, all I could think about was Larry's father. And Larry having to go home and explain what happened to him. And the humiliation, fucking humiliation he must have felt. It must have been unreal. I mean, how do you apologize for something like that? There's no way. It's all because of me and my old man. God, I fucking hate him. He's like this mindless machine that I can't even relate to anymore. Andrew, you've got to be number one. I won't tolerate any losers in this family. Your intensity is for shit. Win! 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 You son of a bitch. You know, sometimes I wish my knee would give and I wouldn't be able to wrestle anymore. And he could forget all about me.
Now, when we look at contemporary art culture, adult culture, not some fucking movie, when we, the artists, finally escape the adolescent pyramid, finally evolve and mature into our own, into adulthood, become our own, we, the freaks, geeks, burnouts, basket cases, and artists, we are confronted with a profound irony. See, finally, as adults, unlike in our adolescence, we have something called agency. We have power. We have the power to create our own culture, our own customs, habits, and ways of doing. So what have we done with this power? And what kind of culture have we actually created? Well, here's the irony and the twist in our story. You would think that after laboring, no suffering, at the lower levels of the social pyramid during adolescence, that upon entering adulthood and laying claim to the ability to create culture, that the artist would fashion a meritocracy, a culture where individuals rise or fall based upon the merits of their own actions. But you would be wrong. I'm telling you, dog, you best bone up on your brown nosing and ass sniffing skills, kid. See, because what we have is a mediocrity. The pyramid, the fucking pyramid is in full effect, yo. And we have rebuilt it. No, come on. No, I'm serious, dog. It could be argued. It could be argued with strength that the closest thing that we have in global culture to a meritocracy is actually sports. The NFL, the NBA, and the Premier League, fucking boxing, MMA, track and field. See, because the simple fact is that when my man's the fastest man in the world, Usain Bolt, squares up on the white line and the starter fires the pistol, 9.58 seconds later, there is absolutely no ambiguity about who's fastest and who reigns supreme. And there ain't nobody that can take that away from him. And his social capital and his capital, cash money, and his power is derived specifically from his ability to perform in his speed and strength. Now, in contemporary art culture and in design culture to a lesser degree, we actually have the opposite, the antonym of a meritocracy. The opposite is a mediocrity. Oh, the irony. We, the freaks, geeks, burnouts, weirdos, and artists from the lower level of the adolescent social pyramid, when finally invested with power, create a culture that sets as its highest value social capital, popularity itself. You don't see the fucking irony? You don't see the fucking irony of this? In adolescence, the freaks and geeks, burnouts, and artists are jelly at the jocks. They're jealous. They're haters. But at least the jocks' power and popularity is derived from their ability to perform. I'm telling you, dog, you best get your brown nosing and your ass sniffing skills on fleek. Yo, I'm serious. See, because there was this point, right, where we moved as a culture away from what is referred to as an honorific definition of art to what's called a classificatory definition. Stay with me, don't pass out now, homie, we're just getting down to it. Basically what this means is that historically, traditionally, those things that have the capacity to transport the human soul, spirit, or intellect and transcend their own form were deemed worthy of being called art. So in other words, that shit's an honor. It's an honor for your shit to be called art with a capital A. You've achieved art. Think about that. Think about the idea that your work needs to achieve the status of being referred to as art. But those days are done, son. That ain't what we do anymore. We have a classificatory definition, a family resemblance model. Now, there are good things to that, but there are also some serious ramifications. Now your work don't need to achieve shit, because what we have is what's referred to as an open concept. See, can't you see it? Don't you see it? When your work don't have to achieve the status of art. when it already is inherently art. We got problems. Today, right now, those things made by an artist already inherently are art. Well, that's some serious bullshit. This is real. I'm not making it up. This is the system as it stands today. Come on, keep it real. Fire up your inner tubes and see that we're drowning in a river of shit under the guise of art. In this system, we're left holding the bag. More specifically, we're left with social capital as the primary currency of contemporary art culture. And excuse my French, but that is fucked up. Because see, when criteria are dispensed with in this open concept, we're left with the cultural location of the artist and the capacity for the artist to convince. We're left with the artist's identity and their personality and their autobiography to establish the veracity of the work. We've come full circle. We're left with fucking popularity as the primary criteria for work. Career 101, baby. Work on that narrative. That autobiography best be compelling, yo. No, I'm not talking about popularity in the way that that term is conventionally used, but it's popularity nonetheless with an affinity group, with the group that holds power, with the keepers of the flame, with that group that owns power within the art and design worlds. As sophisticated as that notion of popularity might be, it's still social capital and popularity as the primary currency of contemporary art. The reality is that there are two paths. You're like Siddhartha beneath the Bodhi tree. You got some serious thinking to do and some decisions to make.